It's Wednesday, and today's show is going to undoubtedly please many people out there and upset many people out there as well. I am definitely talking about the rumor that Kathleen Kennedy is going to step down as president of Lucasfilm in September of this year. We're going to get into all that, break it all down, talk about what it means. I also want to talk about the news that broke yesterday about there being a solo Jared Leto Joker movie. That's not confusing at all. This is the Nerdy News Rundown, your daily dose for nerdy news. Let's get you filled in. What's up, everybody? It's Josh, and I hope you're having a good day. Man, this one's gonna be tough to get through. Hopefully not too tough. Also, I think it's gonna be a lengthy video, and I apologize for that. I'm trying to keep them between 10 and 15 minutes. We'll see what happens today, though. There's bourbon in here today. All right, everybody, let's start with the Jared Leto Joker news. This broke yesterday, and a lot of people were very confused about it. I saw some excitement out there for it. Oh, and by the way, I put a post up on the community tab here on YouTube. It was pretty cool just getting a metric for how you guys were feeling about this news yesterday, and it was pretty mixed. Some people were into it, some people were totally not into it, and that was pretty interesting. If you want to be more a part of the community here, definitely subscribe and enable notifications or whatever crazy thing YouTube is requiring these days for you to get all the content here. But the community tab is a cool little feature, so thanks for everybody who chimed in yesterday. Okay, so this news was broke by Variety, very trustworthy trade in the Hollywood industry thing. And yeah, they are breaking that there is a solo Joker movie being developed with Jared Leto as the lead. He's not only going to star in the film, but he's said to executively produce the movie as well. I found that kind of interesting. The report is that this will pave the way for future Suicide Squad, damn, that's a mouthful, Suicide Squad spin-offs. There we go. So that's kind of interesting to me. I don't know if I ever wanted Suicide Squad spin-offs, to be completely honest with you, but I did see a lot of people out there online yesterday saying that that would be something that they are into. The big thing for me here is that the Todd Phillips Joker movie, which is said to be sort of an origin story, you know, the one that supposedly is going to be produced by Martin Scorsese, that film is still in development. That's still on the slate, and yet now we're getting a movie with Jared Leto's Joker. This is the exact character that he played in Suicide Squad, so you tend to think that, yeah, that's going to tie into the DCFU, I think is what they're calling it officially. This is a funny and ironic name because it feels like an FU to all the fans, when all reality, Warner Brothers never gave us a proper name for it. That's why the DCEU was out there. Whatever. So with the Todd Phillips movie still in development and the Jared Leto movie being developed, this is just really confusing. Like, what does this mean exactly? Is Warner Brothers going to keep moving on with the continuity that they have, or are they going to reboot, or are they going to do both, maybe? I mean, I could see a thing where they have sort of a different imprint or label for the DC movies that are like standalone or something like that. But man, it would be great to get some kind of clarification on what exactly they are doing as a studio. So, you know, if anything, both stories today and just the current state of fandom should really inform studios that, like, ambiguity, not a good idea. Be direct with your audience, explain what's going on, and inform them. Now, I wanted to take a second here with this story to sort of explain how scoops work in Hollywood, and this is going to tie into a subject that we get to later in the show. But essentially, in Hollywood, there are always projects being developed. There's so many different talks being had, whether they're like at a coffee shop, whether it's at some dude's house, an after party with some producers. There's just a ton of stuff that is in development. And I use air quotes purposely there because it's not really a story until it gets confirmed by a studio. But what happens in Hollywood is there are all these newsletters and like email chains and different things where this type of news, the news that Variety broke, it is out there for people over there to no. Then what happens is someone representing a junket or a trade will then contact the studio asking them to confirm or deny a piece of news. And so then when the studio decides that, yeah, we're going to confirm that, then that studio that then gets the confirmation gets to run an exclusive. They get to do their thing. So that is what happened in this first scenario. This Joker movie, the Jared Leto Joker movie, I'm sure this is something Jared's been talking about for like since Suicide Squad. There's probably been a ton of talks behind closed doors about this project, but it got to the point where when someone from Variety reached out to the studio indeed confirmed that this was something that they were planning. But I think that the thing to keep in mind here is that this is a long way from actually coming to pass. I mean, look at the track record for Warner Brothers, especially when it comes to the DC movies. They had literal presentations at Comic-Cons all over the world where they have put up logos for movies that are no longer in production or that have been in production for like an infinite amount of time. And so yes, this is a story. Yes, this is something we should talk about. We should discuss whether or not we'd be down for this film. But at the end of the day, I don't think this might actually happen. Like, this isn't 100% confirmation that we will be getting a Jared Leto Joker movie. I'm skeptical in general of any announcement when it comes to the DCEU, but that is the news. I do want to know what everyone thinks about this in the comment section. Would you be down for a Jared Leto Joker movie? How excited are you for the Todd Phillips Joker movie? And in general, like, what are your thoughts and feelings about the DC movies that are currently being made? This is a confusing time right now, but I'd love to know what you think. Okay, let's get into the next story. This is the story that's probably gonna cause me to have an aneurysm, but it is indeed being reported out there that there is a massive rumor that president of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, will indeed step down in September. This is not a drill. This is not fake news. This is legitimate. This comes from Ankler, which is a Hollywood newsletter. Now let's pause here for a second. Remember how I said that we were gonna come back to the whole Hollywood, how they break scoop thing? Well, this is where we're gonna do that. So Ankler is indeed a Hollywood newsletter that just puts out a bunch of news that are sort of like rumors or things going on in the industry. So you know how I said the next step would be a junket or a trade taking this information, reaching out to the studio and getting a confirmation? Yeah, that has not happened with the Kathleen Kennedy story. And so it is still existing in this rumor hearsay type of a place on the internet. But I will say that Ankler has a very good history of breaking news similar to this and having it 100% correct. And so I don't know what that means to you exactly. Technically, this is a rumor. I tend to think that this is reality and that this will happen close to September. Now, I know a ton of people out there online are going to be very excited about this news. Frankly, there's a ton of people out there that are going to take this as a win. They are going to feel like, yes, we won. Kathleen Kennedy will be gone as the president of Lucasfilm, and now we can build towards a better Star Wars. And to those people, I will say, I do believe your voices are being heard. I don't know if I would give you exactly credit for what was happening online, but I will say that the commotion that was caused by the boycotters, by the fringe people, and even by the reasonable people that don't like the current direction of Star Wars is having an impact on this story. That being said, if Solo had made money or even just not lost as much money as it's projecting to right now, I do not think that this story would be happening. I mean, I personally think Kathy Kennedy was probably going to step down in the next couple of years anyways. She's 65 years old. She's been in this industry for 40 plus years. And quite honestly, as I was reading through some of the news about this, her job doesn't seem easy at all. However, this is being done because of the current state of Star Wars. Now look, I know there's a ton of fans out there that don't understand this. They're like, look, I think she's doing a hell of a job. I personally like Disney Star Wars, and I think everyone who doesn't like Disney Star Wars is just a bunch of bullies. Now again, I need to clarify here. There are a ton of people very vocal online that absolutely suck. They're wretched people, they're trolls, They just love the salt. They're just the current state of the, but they represent a minority of the actual group of people out there that are not happy with Star Wars. And that's just reality. You just have to look at the numbers. It's out there. It's pretty freaking clear. There are plenty of people out there watching videos about Kathleen Kennedy, agreeing with the content that they are watching, but they're not getting into the comment section and being total asshats. So I don't know, like, this whole thing has been frustrating for me, but I'm trying to just make everybody understand here. It's perfectly reasonable to say that as the president of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy has been not doing the best of jobs. It's perfectly reasonable to say that I think her stepping down would be good for the longevity and the strength of this brand. But there's also this case of like people that are just totally ridiculous, and it sucks to give them any credit. Like, I'll be completely real with you guys. The way some of these people act online, I don't want to give them any credit for this Kathleen Kennedy thing at all. And you know, like, if that offends you or whatever, that's totally fine, because I think I've been pretty clear that I'm not talking to people that are reasonable out there. I'm talking to the people that are completely unreasonable, the trolly people and whatever. Was that too ranty? Did that make any sense? Is anybody with me on that? Please let me know in the comments. Now, getting back to the actual news, like I said, I think this is actually a good move for Star Wars. Whether or not you like Disney Star Wars, whether or not you absolutely hate Disney Star Wars, I think this is going to be good. We need a changing of the guard. So I'm a fan of this. I think it's going to be a big deal. And also, leading into next year, which is going to be such a huge year for Star Wars, as I've said before, with the different parks coming out, with Celebration and Episode 9 out there, you need to sort of squash the beef, but also just establish new blood. Get some new blood in there, and this will sort of curve the narrative that is out there for Star Wars currently. So I, in general, think it's a good idea, and I did say at the end of my video on Monday, I am personally a fan of her stepping down. I personally think that this is the best way to go about it. Kathy Kennedy should step down. Now, the talk online about her replacement is very interesting to me. The lead candidate to take over as president is actually Kiri Hart. Now, I'm a huge fan of Kiri Hart, and I think she'd do a hell of a job. Now, I know a lot of fans are immediately going to jump to Dave Filoni. They're like, look, get Dave Filoni in there. It's a no-brainer. And I'm gonna speak to that in just a second. But as far as Kiri is concerned, she seems to be way more of a actual Star Wars fan than Kathy, which I think is very good. She's also much younger than Kathy. She seems to know the state of the internet and the state of media a little bit better, which is a very big deal, I think, moving forward. She's also the leader of the story group. And this is where I've had the most interaction with Kiri, is watching her on panels with the story group. She tends to really get it, and she seems to be like really living in that world. So for all the fans that are like, look, we need someone that creatively understands this. We need to bring out more of these dope stories, expand the stories that Star Wars is telling. I think Kiri is going to do exactly all of that for the fans. Now, as far as Dave Filoni is concerned, if you've been watching the channel for any substantial amount of time, you will realize and remember that I am a huge Dave Filoni fan. And it's true, I am. I went to the same college as Dave. He came back, he spoke to us. I've met him on several different occasions. He is a great dude and a creative force of nature. But I think what's lost in this is the fact that the president of Lucasfilm is a business job. At the end of the day, it is not a creative position. It is a position in which you need to be creative and have a good relationship with your creative elements. But there's a lot to this job that isn't creative at all. You got to talk to the shareholders, you got to get the money, you got to hire people, you have to know Hollywood. And I think the big resistance for the Disney shareholders with Dave is the fact that he has no real Hollywood experience. Dave's not a Hollywood guy, and that's what makes him so awesome at his job, in my opinion. But it also sort of prevents him from being able to maybe do a great job on certain, parts of the position. My final thoughts on Dave is that it would be great if he was given more of a leadership position creatively within the company. I think Kiri and Dave have a great relationship as compared to Kathy and Dave, so that in and of itself gets us a little bit closer to the outcome that most fans want. But I'm all for Kiri Hart. Like, Kiri Hart should be the president, and then they should do something with Filoni to bring him on and show fans that, yeah, we're going to let this guy touch this stuff, be involved with the films creatively to give you more of the Star Wars that you are looking for. So that is the big story out there. I'm really curious. I want to know what people think. What do you think about Kathy Kennedy stepping down? I want to hear from the people that are ridiculous. You know, please feel free to put your ridiculous comments in there. I want to hear from the moderates. I want to hear from the people that don't like Disney Star Wars right now, but aren't crazy. You know, please feel free to drop in a comment there. And then I also want to hear from the people that absolutely love Disney Star Wars. What's your take? That's probably the most interesting part of the story, is the people that actually love what's going on. What would be terrible for Star Wars right now is if the changing of the guard was met with as much friction as we have right now. What I mean is, if everyone who loves Disney Star Wars right now turned their back on the brand, and all the people that hate it right now came back to the brand, that's still a really terrible situation. So we need austerity, we need reciprocity. That's what we need in this fandom. So I'm curious what your thoughts are about Kathy Kennedy stepping down later this year. I want to thank everybody that's been hanging out, getting the news from me over here. It's been really cool relaunching this show, getting to know a lot of you in the comments. It's been fun for me, so thank you guys so much for being a part of it. I'm going to continue to do this, and the content here on the Den of Nerds is expanding a lot in general, so look forward to that. Look forward to some cool announcements over here, some cool collaborations, and different things like that. You can click below to watch more dope videos. You can click our icon to subscribe to get all of our future content. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and nerdy day, and I will see you giving you the news tomorrow.